Happy.
This is now. Now is all there is. Don't wait for then. Strike the spark. Light the fire.
All
That's a
right.
quote from Rumi for our lighting of the flame this morning. Our opening congregational song is on page 105 of our pink songbook. And today we are fortunate to have both Jean Heinrich and Craig Rafuse as our accompanists. So I would invite you to turn to page 105 in the pink book and rise, embody your spirit as you are willing and able. Join in and singing. Ain't gonna let nobody. Turn me around.
because I forgot we were Christian.
We need to be reminded.
There's a lot of
Good morning. Welcome to the First Existentialist Congregation of Atlanta. We are a spiritual community philosophically based on existentialist and feminist principles, dedicated to human liberation and the protection of the natural world. We make our spiritual home here in the Old Stone Church, which was hand-built by members of the African American Antioch East Baptist Church more than 100 years ago. We acknowledge that racial hostility drove those African Americans from the area, and we honor them and the powerful history of this place. We also acknowledge that in the 1800s, the Muskogee Creek people were driven from this land, and we support justice for all Indigenous people. My name is Patton White, and I will be facilitating this morning's celebration of life. And as our opening activity, I will invite you to settle into your chair and allow your eyes to close. And we are going to focus on our synovial fluids today. Our synovial fluids bring lightness and effervescence, if you will, into our lives. And so letting your joints just gently shake and jiggle, and whichever joints your attention drift to, maybe send a little more synovial fluid to those parts. And let this lightness, this jiggliness, this fun bounciness stay with you throughout our time today. And you may now open your eyes and that smile creep across your face. If anyone has a community announcement that they would like to share today, please make use of the writing implements that are on the table in the center of the space back there, and write them down and hand them up to me within the next few minutes, and I will share them. This is also just a reminder that community announcements will need to come during the community announcement period, not during the personal joys and sorrows time period. Do we have anyone here who might be here for the first time, or second time, or hasn't been around for a while? Would you like to let us know who you are and how you came to be here today?
Sure. My name is Anna Kershaw. I live in Tucker. My friend Polly told me about it and wanted to come.
well,
All right. Welcome to you both. Anyone else? Yes.
Melissa here from Boulder, Georgia. Friends of Tom, so came to listen.
All right. Well, welcome. Anyone else? Yes.
Hi, I'm Lydia Bell. I am married to our speaker today. Tell Bell.
All right, well, welcome to all of our first-timers or second-timers. I would like to draw your attention in our bulletin to the connection card. And if you would like to be kept abreast of what we have going on here, we have a weekly e-blast that goes out both early in the week with information about what has just happened, and then later in the week with what is coming up. And we hope that you will take advantage of that opportunity to get to know us better. Does anyone have a birthday or anniversary to celebrate today? Sanjay.
Recently, Bob and I, we celebrated 19 years.
Would you like to be sung to?
Sure.
There has been a tradition. Yeah, actually, you can have a substitute to stand in for somebody.
What better substitute than our own?
Yes. Shrey. Oh, no. Shrey.
And, Bob knows my wife.
Say it again.
Bobna, B-H-A-W-N.
Bobna. La la.
Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary to you. Happy anniversary, Sanjay Bhavna. Happy anniversary to you.
And Patton, Craig's birthday.
I'm just going to sit here.
All right.
Next Thursday, I will be 73.
Happy birthday to Craig.
La 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 la.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Craig. Happy birthday to you. All right, anyone else? Then in that case, we're going to move on to our next congregational song, which is also in the Pink Book. On page 114, Let's Get Together. Please rise in body or spirit as you are willing and able.
You all, in the spirit of existentialism, I invite you and even encourage you to exercise your freedom of choice and change any of the lyrics of this song that don't work for you. You'll note we already have changed some.
You can make them you. Jean Craig.
And the congregation, you all sound great.
You should go to the recording studio with them.
Yeah.
This time I'd like to invite our fellowship minister, the Reverend Marcia Mitchner, to come forward with her remarks for the day. I'll be right back.
When we have visitors using our space, they often like to.
Marcia, you want to use mine? No, I can use the podium.
Here we go.
Come on, people now.
Yeah.
Love everybody. I love that song. I love the way it makes me feel because I think about the words and I think about what a great world we would live in if that's how we got up in the morning and went about our day. So I hope you'll keep that in your hearts and in your minds as you go through this coming week. One of the things that I found really interesting was when I was sitting in a chair back there and watching Jean and Craig play, I noticed that the sign for the fire extinguisher is right over there, and I thought, how appropriate, because we get so hot when they are playing. But thank y'all for being here today, for making the choice to get up and come into our sanctuary and to be a part of our community. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have a book and bake sale, and I hope that everyone is thinking about going through all of your bookcases and everything so that you can bring in a bunch of books or CDs or anything that you might have that we can put in our book sale, and thinking about how you might be able to volunteer to be a part of that too. So, because it takes a community, it takes a village to keep things going and to show that the kind of community we are, one that loves to read, that we do not believe in banning books, and that we like to get together, do things that make us feel good. So I hope that y'all will plan to attend that and hopefully participate as a volunteer as well. As you can tell, I'm the coordinator for the volunteers. So I hope we do that. And just keep in mind that there's a lot going on in the world that we cannot control. But what we can control is ourselves. How we react, how we respond, and how we make a choice of how we are in the world every day. Thank you.
All right, last call for community announcements. I'll go ahead and start to share the ones I've received already. First, there is a call for volunteer greeters. Volunteer greeters are needed especially for June 8th, June 29th, and all of July. And if you are greeting, you just simply station yourself outside the front door, and as people arrive, provide them with the bulletin and welcome them into the space. It is not a difficult job, but it is full of opportunity to get to know everybody. And you can sign up at the rear table back there. And that is a message from the Membership Guild. From our or related to our proactive stance in ensuring that we keep a healthy democracy going on. Please vote in the primary for Public Service Commission. They regulate utilities. See the voter guide in Decatur-ish. And early voting has already started, and the election is on June 17th. Also, excuse me, today is the final official day of the current exhibition of my photography, and it will be coming down this week, and the art of Diane Hauser and Susan Lee will be going up, and this coming Friday we will have the opening reception for that from 6 to 8 p.m. and Mick Kinney and a guest musician will be playing during the opening, so we invite you to come back, but take one final look around today and enjoy the what has been one of my most exciting privileges in a long time. Anyway. So we are going to now move into our time of silence, and this is an opportunity for us to journey within and be quiet and let the external concerns drift away. We do have lights or candles on either side of the sanctuary if you would like to make use of those. I dare to say that one of the values that existentialism embraces is experimentation. And we are conducting an experiment right now, in that we are going to throw caution to the wind and reorder our bulletin. Yeah, that's right. And so at this time, I would like to first acknowledge that we are the ones we're waiting for to help support this organization. And so I'd like to ask a couple of volunteers to come and take up the collection while Jean and Craig play us some special music.
Gosh, I wrote this song 30 years ago, and it's changed a lot. It's had lots of versions, so it's entitled Dreamy Journey. So I invite you all to make yourselves comfortable and maybe close your eyes if you want to. Come to a still and quiet place inside you. Taking a deep breath, soon you will leave. Important victories you will achieve. The ships of the night, made from the stars, will carry you across the sky. To far, enchanted places you will go. You will fly. To strange, mystical places where the creatures speak in rhymes. And rivers sing flowing songs. And wind shines. There's a banquet spread out there, and you're the honored guest. The ships will carry you to it. So now, let yourself rest. Let yourself rest. Let yourself rest.
Jeannie, where does that song come from?
South Pacific,
What decade?
1950s,
Yeah.
It's late 40s.
Rogers and Hammerstein. Yeah, redone.
It is my honor at this time to introduce our speaker for today. I first encountered Tom Bell in 2003 when he was a dance critic writing for Creative Loafing. Who remembers Creative Loafing? Yeah, who wishes we still had a functioning Creative Loafing? Yeah. And Beacon Dance was doing the fourth of our 4-year elemental project called To Err is Human. And the night that Tom came to the performance, it was a raging thunderstorm outside, and I think he was one of about 5 people who braved the weather to be there. But the pyrotechnics, as it were, of this thunderstorm definitely added to the whole experience. And since then, Tom has gone on to direct the Decatur Book Festival for many years and is now, I believe, freelance writer and doing other things that I'm sure are very important. And so at this point, I'm going to invite Tom to come on up and share with us Grandpa's Imaginary Chapel in the Woods.
Thank you, Patton. And thank you all for inviting me here today. A couple years after the story Patton just told, I was here in this space for the first time because of Patton. He was teaching us about contact improvisation, something that I had written about for Creative Loafing, and then I kind of got the bug after being in a couple classes with Patton. And after the story was printed, I just kept coming. So I've spent many a night with all the chairs pulled away and dancing on the floor before you right now. But I appreciate you bringing me back for this today. So my grandfather was no mystic. He was born on a Michigan farm, the second youngest of 7 children, raised mostly by a single mother after his father's untimely death. They all worked hard to keep the farm and the family going. Long days of manual labor in addition to school. No time for nonsense. Not the sort of person that you would expect to go wandering in the woods and find an imaginary cathedral in the trees. And yet, Grandpa showed early signs of academic promise that inspired his family, older siblings included, to do whatever it took to send him to college. Scientifically minded, he studied aeronautical engineering at the University of Michigan, where he worked with a professor developing new applications of magnesium. And after graduating, Grandpa went to work for Dow, designing magnesium airfoils for the military in World War II. And then after the war, he struck out on his own. Leveraging his own innovations in magnesium and aluminum manufacturing, he founded and grew a successful business, Magline, that still makes high-end hand trucks and other materials-moving equipment that are used around the world. You've almost certainly seen his hand trucks, even if you didn't notice the name, from Coca-Cola to UPS delivery trucks to hotel lobbies and the aisles of corner convenience stores, wherever people are moving boxes, bags, crates, tanks, or other supplies and equipment. You'll find his hand trucks. Just look for the red stripe down the side, then for the molded magnesium nose plate. That's what they call that piece at the bottom. With the name Magline stamped into it. I see them all the time in Atlanta and around the world. And whenever I do, I think of Grandpa. He was a brilliant engineer and successful entrepreneur, but that's not how I thought of him when I was growing up. I remember Grandpa as calm, quiet, disciplined, thoughtful, and kind. He was humble about his accomplishments, I was well into my teens before I even understood what he did at work. He talked about it so rarely, though I used to think it had something to do with welding. He had a dry sense of humor and could be playful at times, but mostly I remember him as someone who approached all things in life with curiosity, wonder, and careful critical thinking. Once when we were visiting, my parents shared with Grandpa a drawing I made in middle school art class, my own concept for an electric car. This would have been in the early 1980s, long before mass market EVs hit the roads. It had a windmill on the roof and a dedicated drive wheel underneath, both of which I imagined would power onboard generators to charge the batteries. I understood it as essentially a perpetual motion machine, though I don't think I knew that term at the time. An invention that would solve the energy crisis and help prevent global warming. Now, Grandpa could have simply and authentically praised my active imagination, or with a grandparent's generosity complimented my rudimentary drawing skills. Instead, he taught me about the conservation of energy, and systemic analysis, and the inevitability of inefficiencies. He helped me understand how the windmill and drive wheel generators were never going to create as much energy as it took to push them and the rest of the car along the road. My car would still need some sort of external energy input. Now, I admit I was disappointed that my initial concept was flawed. But I also appreciated that Grandpa took my imagination so seriously, that he considered my ideas worthy of careful examination and refinement rather than just empty praise. My imagination had been the genesis of an interesting idea, interesting even to a brilliant entrepreneur and successful business leader. And now it was time for critical thinking to make it better, with Grandpa helping me think it all through. Well, alas, I can't take credit for inventing regenerative braking systems on hybrid and electric cars. I didn't pursue the idea past middle school art class. But I suspect that the people who did invent it also started with some playful flights of fancy, paired with an awe-inspiring appreciation for the interconnected systems of our environment. Then taking those imaginative ideas seriously, they refined them to work within the laws of physics. So Grandpa was a rigorous critical thinker, but he was no knee-jerk cynic delivering death blows to dreamy ideas. He had a cottage in northern Michigan, deep in the woods and out by a lake. And one afternoon, he took me on a walk, just the two of us, up the hill and into the forest. He stopped when we came to a small clearing, a roughly circular dirt floor carpeted in pine needles and surrounded by towering eastern white pines. And together we gazed up to the treetops, 200 feet above us, and then beyond to the bright blue sky. "This place reminds me of a cathedral," he said to me, describing the soaring architecture he imagined in the trees. He told me that he came up there often to listen, to think, and to feel closer to God. We stood in reverent silence for a long while in this holy space that his imagination had created from dirt, trees, and sky. And for a moment I felt we transcended our meager material bodies, experienced our oneness with the earth below us, with life all around us, with whatever may be found beyond the upward edges of all we could see. One time, we gathered ourselves back into our bodies and returned to the cottage. Now, Grandpa's cottage was in a little town called Indian River, which is also home to the second largest crucifix in the world. It's a 55-foot-high wooden cross with a bronze sculpture of Jesus hanging from it, all nestled in a forested outdoor church named, obviously enough, the Cross in the Woods. Now, pilgrims traveled to the Cross in the Woods from all over the world. Grandpa and I could have walked there from his cottage and been back in time for dinner. He could have taken me there to contemplate the immensities and mysteries of creation. He could have offered up that towering effigy as our conduit to closeness with God, to a connection with that which was greater than us. But instead, he found his own holy place in the forest, and that day he shared it with me. Grandpa was raised in a Methodist family, but he later joined the Presbyterian church instead. One of my uncles has told me he suspects the conversion was because they didn't ask too much of him. I believe Grandpa genuinely wanted to be in community with other religious and spiritual people. The Presbyterians gave him that community without too heavy a burden of orthodoxy for his questioning mind to obey. It's not that the spiritual realm wasn't important to him. It's just that he had his own relationship with God, his own ideas and ideals, and he didn't need anyone else telling him how to live a moral and meaningful life. Because Grandpa did have a very strong sense of right and wrong, of moral purpose, of responsibility to his family and community, to his country, to humanity, and to all creation. Grandpa didn't need giant crosses or ancient rituals to invoke in him a sense of profound wonder and transcendent awe. And I don't think that's something separate from his intelligence, his creativity, and his success. I think, in fact, that wonder was the fertile ground in which he grew his most meaningful ideas. I think that awe was just as critical to his innovations as critical thinking was to the quality of his products. I think that wonder and awe led him toward transformative and transcendent ideas that he then took seriously enough to question, critique, and refine with his formidable scientific mind. What is beyond what we see right before us? What possibilities wait behind the veils of our present understanding? What dreams, if we believed in them, could be shepherded into the waking world? I think, to put it simply, that the heart-centered experience of wonder and the spiritual experience of awe are where all of our best thinking begins. I've been using these words, wonder and awe, but what is wonder? What is awe, and why do they matter? You may think of wonder as the feeling you get staring up at a star-filled sky in the night, or standing on the shore of the ocean. Perhaps, too, the feeling of holding your newborn child or grandchild, of holding a new life in your very own hands. And wonder does come to us in times like these, but it suffuses so much more. Descartes once called wonder a sudden surprise of the soul. It's an experience of something that exceeds the ability of our rational mind's existing cognitive structures to comprehend it. A perception of something not only greater than us, but beyond the present bounds of our understanding. It's an emotional experience, as much as an intellectual one. Kant described it as the mind attempting to imagine what it cannot. And he wrote that we experience pain in the failure, but pleasure in contemplating the immensity of the attempt. Monica Parker, the author of The Power of Wonder, describes the process of awe as a wow moment, followed by a whoa. Vastness, she writes, is the wow moment, when something so moving has grabbed us and made us feel like a small piece of a much bigger world. And accommodation is the whoa moment, when our brain tries to make sense of that wow experience, and our view of the world is different because of it. As all of these thinkers suggest, wonder and awe are not always pleasant, double rainbow experiences. A few years ago, when William Shatner, famous of course for decades as Captain Kirk, when he at last went to space in real life aboard a Blue Origin capsule, he wept with grief. "I saw more clearly than I have," he told NPR, "the writhing, slow death of Earth, and we on it. It's so fragile, we hang by a thread." Shatner's experience was in line with the overview effect reported by many astronauts. While each experience is unique, people who see the Earth from space usually gain a heightened understanding of the fragility of all life and a deeper appreciation of our inescapable interconnectedness. They often return with little patience for wars, border disputes, short-sighted climate decisions, and so much else that pits people against one another or against the good of all life. I had such an experience with awe one summer as a child. Around the same age as that time, Grandpa took me up to his cathedral in the trees. My family was on our annual summer vacation along the Jersey Shore, and I scooped up a bucket of seawater from the ocean, and I found within it a swirling nebula of tiny baby starfish. Thousands, tens of thousands, more. I couldn't hope to count them all. These pale, newborn stars floating densely in a yellow plastic bucket. Yet this one bucket, I suddenly perceived, was but an infinitesimal drop in the unfathomable depths of the Atlantic Ocean, whose far shore was hidden from me behind the curvature of the earth, far beyond my eye's ability to see. I stood there on the shifting infinities of sand, and I was overwhelmed by the mind-blowing immensity of it all. My parents soon rightly urged me to return the bucket of starfish to the ocean, where they would have a chance to grow up and live free. Yet for what my memory tells me were hours, I could not bring myself to dump the bucket back into the ocean. Because I had realized something else in my contemplation of these layered immensities. Once I released these baby starfish, I would never, ever, ever be able to find them again. Some would soon die, and some would thrive, but all of these countless, precious lives would be lost to me forever within the endless sea. That day on the ocean shore, I saw that the world was so much bigger than me. I felt my inability to hold it all, know it all, even comprehend the scope of it all. I had a glimpse of my inconsequential smallness within the vastness of creation. I could only hold one tiny pail of it in my hands. One yellow plastic pail full of swirling life, and do my best to care for it well. And I saw that care here meant setting that pail of life free into the infinite unknown, sure to never see any being within it again. My throat was full, my heart tight, my eyes brimming with tears, and I poured that pail of life back into the sea, setting the starfish free. I grieved for those little stars, lost to me for a long time after. I still sometimes wonder what became of them. I wish I could know, and I know I never will. But the glimpse they gave me into the boundlessness and interconnectedness of all life, whoa. Have you ever wept or mourned your lost illusions? Have you felt directionless in your suddenly widened horizons, or struggled to stand on the shifting existential sands beneath your shaking feet? Have you also felt suffused with love, joyfully interconnected with all life, or elated by a profound insight into creation? Sometimes we experience all of these simultaneously or in rapid succession. However we receive it, awe always changes us. And sometimes that change weighs heavily on our hearts. But after the growing pains have subsided, we often look back on the experience of wonder with love and gratitude for how it has transformed us. Like climbing a mountain, awe may not be comfortable, but it's worth it for the view at the summit. Socrates said that wisdom begins in wonder. Wonder expands us and stretches us to seek that which is beyond the boundaries of our present understanding. Wonder both humbles us and opens us to other perspectives and experiences. Wonder connects us compassionately with one another and with our responsibility to the natural world. Wonder inspires deep curiosity and a love for the process of questioning and considering. Wonder opens us to profound new insights, engages us with meaningful mysteries, and invites us to trade in our settled thinking for the possibility of ideas that are closer to true. When did you last feel wonder and awe? You may find it in the usual places, a sunset, a mountain peak, a stirring symphony. If you have the opportunity, you may one day find it in outer space. But wonder is available to you everywhere. You don't have to wait for it to find you or chase it atop a rocket ship. It's something you can cultivate in your own life. Wonder comes when you slow down and choose to be present with all that's around you in the moment, rather than rushing through your days in the pursuit of productivity and distraction. Wonder comes when you remember and accept how little you actually know and decide to engage with that place of unknowing. Wonder comes when you question your own beliefs, when you notice things that violate your expectations, when you open yourself to changing your mind. Wonder comes when you wander, absorbed by the world around you, and seek out that which you've never seen before. You can invite wonder in by quieting your ego and listening to that childlike curiosity within you. Listen to and take seriously those questions that never really leave us but are too often ignored. What do other creatures think about? How does it feel to be a tree in a rainstorm? How far away are the stars? What's out there, down there, on the other side? Why is the world this way? How else might it be? Once you start inviting more wonder into your life, you'll find yourself noticing more mysteries and immensities all around you, wherever you go. My grandfather was calm, quiet, disciplined, thoughtful, and kind. He was no mystic. But neither was he some coldly calculating computer processing the world's equations for profit and productivity. And I believe that the quality of his heart, his imagination, his wonder, and his reverence for creation, far from muddying his mind, they all made him a better thinker. An inventor, he could see possibilities that others hadn't seen. He asked himself big and challenging questions. How could hand trucks be lighter and stronger at the same time? How could these remarkable metals, magnesium and aluminum, so much lighter yet so much harder to work than iron and steel, how could they be molded into something new? He could see beyond whatever was right before him, perceiving the systems that connected the particulars, the unimagined possibilities and the larger purposes too. He considered the many ways in which humanity moved when it needed, and the people working hard every day, often literally breaking their backs to get it where we needed it. How could he lighten the labor of unloading a truck of produce, grown on a farm like the one he'd worked as a boy? How could he support people carrying critical medical equipment up a flight of stairs? How could he help a shopkeeper navigate narrow aisles to restock their shelves? Mindful of humanity's interdependence, he ignited his creativity to imagine how he might ease the first and last few hundred yards of all the many things that fed, clothed, sheltered, educated, enlightened, and delighted us. Then, taking seriously his own flights of fancy, he engaged his formidable intellect to manifest his daydreams into the wide-awake world. Without wonder, no meaningful purpose to the work. Without imagination, no solutions that we haven't seen before. Without careful critical thinking, well, you end up with a fanciful perpetual motion car that would never drive off the lot. Grandpa knew how to weave them all together: wonder, imagination, and critical thinking. And all these years later, his inventions are still moving the world. Well, a few years after our walk to the cathedral in the forest, Grandpa passed away. I still travel to that area of Michigan to visit my aunts and uncles and my cousins. And when I can, I walk up the hill into the forest and visit Grandpa's cathedral, which remains much the same these 40 years later. I stand there in silence for a while, opening myself to that familiar awe once again, and feeling Grandpa's quiet presence by my side. But it's not just there, in Grandpa's cathedral of trees. In forests everywhere, throughout the wide, wide world, I walk, I wander, I open myself to the wonder and awe of the holy places that surround me, hidden until I open myself to seeing them. They are everywhere. And you can find these holy places too. If you quiet your ego, open your heart, listen, and wait, they will reveal themselves to you. And you'll never be the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Funny side note, I once choreographed a piece called Wow, Whoa. Our closing congregational song is Come and Go With Me. That's in the pink book?
No,
No.
it's in the white.
What is it again?
Come and Go With Me.
Once again, in the spirit of existentialism, I'd like for you all to consider making the choice to sing Come and Go With Me to That Land, or to sing Come and Be With Me in This Land. So, here and now, the lyrics that we're going to do are, there is thinking in that land or in this land. And then we'll do a verse, there is wonder in that land or this land. There is awe in that land, in this land. So,
Please rise and body your spirit as you're willing and able. In the white book, in the seeds, come and go with me to that land.
come be with me in this land.
Come and be with me in this land. Come and be with me in this land where I'm bound. Come and be with me in this land. Come and be with me. Thank you, Jean and Craig. Thank you again, Tom Bell. Next week, Lisa Kaufman will be speaking about what is an end-of-life doula. So please come back next week. And our closing words are actually an activity, again, just checking back in with your synovial fluids, letting them bounce you through this day, through the week ahead, and we look forward to seeing you when you are back again. Thank you so much for being with us today, and that concludes our service. Actually, there's one last little thing. Wrong book. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Oh, yeah.